What is up, glow getters? We're back. It's been a
Oh my God.
minute. It's been a minute. Somebody had to move, so I had to deal with life.
Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I
It's
appreciate
taken
it.
a long time.
Wow.
For
Much longer than we anticipated.
Tyler, it's taken over a year.
Wow, yeah. I know. I know. Tyler lived with my parents by himself for a little while, you
You guys.
guys.
I don't know if any of you have ever done that, but hey, it builds character.
Wow.
It builds
So
character.
good for you. It's so good for you. You want to go through some
Oh,
expedited growth? Just move in with your
go
almost
live with.
in-laws
Go ahead, alone, by
by
yourself.
yourself.
No
Let your
handbook. Only
girlfriend
the
stay
stories that
for like
you've
3 or
heard.
4 months.
And all you have are the stories that you've heard for
Oh,
reference.
shit. He did great. He did great too. Round of
He did. He's done beautiful. Yeah.
applause. Oh,
Man.
man. Well, that was actually a perfect way to start the episode because tonight we're talking about love. The romantic kind.
Yay. Man.
What I love about us so much, actually, I was thinking about this earlier today when I was thinking about us recording this episode, is that we are similar in so many ways. But in this way, during our entire friendship, we have always lived in the opposite.
It's nice. Just like by chance. It's like, well, I'm just here.
Yeah.
My
But
life.
I love it because I think we get to live a little bit through each other too, vicariously, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so, for sure. I get to try to like help you. I get to help you see what like I wasn't able to do in my marriage.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, like just because like we weren't there yet. We weren't prepared
Yeah.
to truly look at ourselves yet.
Yeah.
We were still like, I don't know what to look at, you know?
Yeah. And that's
So
really
it's been
rewarding.
lovely.
That's part of why I coach, right? Because I like to help people get out of a place I've already been and was stuck at many times myself.
Yes.
So I'm like, if you need some help,
Yes.
I got you. Because
Yes. That's like my whole thing with all my friends.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So our entire friendship, I have been with the same partner. I've been with Tyler for the whole.
And like,
It's been 9 years in October.
man,
October will be 9 years. Yeah. That's wild. It's basically been a decade.
another one.
Another one. Oh
Dude.
man. Yeah. And Camila has been mostly single our entire
Yes.
friendship. So
I've tried my
she has
hand
given
a
it
few
a
times.
good try, a couple of good tries. I will say she's really
I've given it a go. A good
she's
go.
gotten in there.
I've gotten in the ring.
So tonight, today, whenever you're listening to this episode, I think we've decided we're going to focus a little bit more just on like the relationship, the committed relationships, and
yes, couples.
yeah, long-term
focus
lovers, married,
Yes.
together forever, however you identify, right?
Yes. Maybe you just got together. That's okay. Learn some stuff.
I think if you've been together for
See what's to come.
honestly anything longer than like a year to me is a long time. Like if I'm with you for more than a year, then I really like you because by that point, like the
Yes.
glow has worn off, you know? Like
Yes.
yeah.
It takes you by surprise too. And you're like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's been a whole
Yeah.
year. It's been a whole one.
Yeah, when it hasn't been a year yet, it's easy for you to, I don't know. For me, I'm like, I don't really count the first
You're
12
like,
months. I don't do like monthly anniversaries. Listen, I don't even remember Tyler and I's
hard.
like actual anniversary date. Okay, we've just guessed. We
call it We call it Halloween.
Yeah, we're like somewhere in that time frame. In the last 2 weeks of October, it was right before Halloween. So yeah, who knows?
The
But
spiciest month of the year.
yeah, that's when it
Hey.
starts getting cold. That's why we're like shit.
Aside from Christmas.
Those mating instincts kick in. Like, I need help. I need a person to keep me warm.
It's like, it's chilly. It's really cold.
Oh man. Yeah, and then we'll just, you know how we do. We're just gonna let the conversation carry us from there. But one more
Yes,
distinction
I have a
I wanted to make
yes.
before we move forward is that Camilla and I are both hetero, straight ass women. Okay? So
Yes.
so a lot of our conversation is gonna be about straight cisgendered experiences, because that's what we've had.
Yes.
And I
I live with a gay man, and I have
yeah,
many, many gay folks in my
same.
family
Yeah.
throughout generations. And so I do my best to include everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that makes sense in my speech. I try to speak as general as possible for this very reason,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it is true. We are straight.
And it's just a little bit of a different experience. But I think in general, lessons in love are pretty general, right? Like they are pretty broad. I think they're applicable.
People are people.
Exactly. They're applicable in any kind of
Mhm.
relationship. It's just in
Mhm.
what way we choose to apply that thing.
Right.
So
And of course, you may see yourself reflected in things that we talk about, and you may not. And whenever you don't see yourself reflected in, forget about it.
Yeah. We are not here to preach the truth. We are here to share our experiences, and we know that in our experiences there is some truth because we've met other people who have lived similar experiences. So
we cannot be the only one.
Right. We're not claiming that this is
Very
like the end all be all for your romantic relationship and you're going to learn everything you need to know to save your marriage. That's not what this is.
One-stop shop.
But we are here to talk about it if you need to talk about it.
But we'll do our best.
Exactly.
My main focus is that you don't feel crazy anymore.
Crazy or alone. We're not doing that anymore.
Or alone.
No more.
Exactly.
I love that.
I find myself having to repeat that to people recently. Like, you're not alone. Remember, you're not alone.
Same.
Remember, you're not alone. Don't let your brain convince you that you're alone.
Don't let it trick you.
That would be silly. Very silly indeed. But what I would like to say is, if you are not a heterosexual person, please do your best to not dismiss the information, just in case something does resonate with you.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I try not to dismiss stuff.
Yeah.
But we should all try.
I agree.
Anyway, I basically have a bunch of questions for Desiree so that we can add some, discipline to our talks. Okay? Because we know we watched that first episode too.
Yeah.
She watched that first episode too. And I know because I experienced it that we kind of so we took notes. So I have some questions. I'm pretty excited. We've attempted this a couple times now.
Third time.
So
third time's a charm. Number 3.
I got it right this time. Oh man. So you ready?
Ready.
Okay. First off, you've been together for 9 years, right? Okay. So, how the hell do you guys keep from killing each other? How do you fight, or how do you not fight? I kind of like, how do you fight? Like, how do you fight now?
Yeah.
And how did you fight before?
Yeah.
Give us a before and current scene, so people can see that something had to happen.
Yes. So we need a little bit of history, right? In order to understand where we're coming from. So
Oh, wait.
Desiree, when she was 21, almost caught a case. Literally, you guys.
It's my favorite story.
And we'll tell the story itself, I think, when we talk about like actually dating, because that was a different Desiree for sure, right? But I almost got a case, and after that relationship, I was like, I cannot be with someone who makes me like.
Absolutely
Now,
not.
for sure, he didn't just make me that way, right? Like, I also enabled and stayed, and it was a toxic relationship. It was the most, and probably really like the only toxic relationship I've ever been in. Like, most of my relationships, I get something healthy out of it. But that one was just like,
I mean, it was a healthy lesson.
no,
It's a
there were a
very
lot of
heavy,
healthy lessons.
healthy
Yeah, yeah.
lesson.
A
But
lot of,
it's not pleasant to have to
no,
learn them that
yeah, it was
way.
a crash course in what not to do.
Ooh. We said we wanted to learn quick.
Right.
Why
So
do we do
after
this?
that, I was celibate for 2 years, after leaving Alaska. And I was there for about a year and a half after and I broke up. So I'll use his name because I know he'll never listen. Let's be honest. Oh, but I wish him the best. I do. I do. Um,
He's
so
a person.
yeah. So I was there for a year and a half, did a lot of dating and singledom, um, and moved to Washington. I didn't know anybody, so my social life just kind of
Mm-hmm.
died. And with that, it was just a really good time for me to lean into myself a little bit. So for that 2 years, I was going to therapy twice a week. I still had my dad's TRICARE, so I used like the last year of that. And then kept up like my personal exercises of journaling and stuff throughout the 2 years. I really went into a lot of self work and like figuring out how I was going to not be that same version of myself in any next relationship. So I scared myself, right? Like when we see what we're capable of in anger, when we're enraged, um,
It's
it's
scary.
scary. It's scary. And to know that it could have been worse. Like it really could have been worse, but it was bad enough, right? And so I told myself that whoever I was going to be with next, I was never going to do that to them. I was never going to be so enraged and have so much resentment and anger and frustration pent up against them that it exploded in such an unhealthy way. Um,
Absolutely. Thank God.
and universe heard me and sent me a
Mm-hmm.
package completely different than every other package I've ever received.
Wrapped in blue ribbon boots.
Yes. They sent me a little Irish man from Montana. He's not little. He's pretty tall. He's like 6'1".
He's pretty
I
tall.
don't know why I called him little. Because he's so skinny now.
I was like straight from Montana.
Anyways, we'll
Oh my
talk
God,
about that later. He's
he looks
so
great.
small
I saw
now.
him the
Oh
other
my
day.
God. I'm like, can you eat some food though?
I can't eat food when I'm walking around, Desiree.
Because my ass is just getting bigger, okay? It's not gonna work out.
Like, please, you need
Right.
help
I'm
with
just trying to
muscles.
help you out.
Help your legs, help your legs.
So, anyways, yeah, they delivered me
So you
Tyler.
meet this person
And
at a party.
yes, and we had a one night stand. I didn't really, I honestly never expected. Like, if you had told me we would still be together, I would have laughed in your face. If you had told me back then that like I was gonna stay with him for 9 years, I was like, no way. We're way too different on paper, but it just works. Um,
Here we are.
Now, when we first got together, I had developed I had a lot of fear of myself, right? And so I was scared to
Mm-hmm.
communicate my anger.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler is he's Mr. Fix It. He is Mr. Fix It and fix it right now. He doesn't like that break time. He doesn't like the silence or like not resolving it. Like that's not his thing.
It allows his brain to wander too
Yes.
much, you
Yes.
see,
So
for
he
explanation, which
also
happens to a
has
lot of people.
ADHD. So there's also that, right? Like, yeah. So,
Just tell me you're upset and you need time to cool down,
right.
and I'll
I just need
know
some kind of
why the silence.
explanation, right? But I was at a point where I hadn't been in a relationship for 2 years, and the last one I was in, I had this unhealthy reaction to anger, right? So I had really shut myself down, and I was like, if you don't have anything good to say, Desiree, just don't say it at all. But obviously, what was happening, and when I think of that time, my throat gets so like irritated. It's so
I
interesting.
bet.
But I was just holding so much in because I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
hurt his feelings. But in that, he wasn't receiving any kind of explanation or energy, right? When we fight, we need energy. This is the thing, like conflict happens. So
Yeah.
when it comes up, we have to have the energy to duke it out. Like we have to both be in a place that we have the energy to do it. But that momentum comes from each
Yes.
other. It's cyclical, right? I feed into something and I respond to something and vice versa. And that energy then allows me to process that piece and respond to that thing. So when
Mm-hmm.
you when you not only have the natural urge to want to fix things right away, but then you're not receiving any energy to try to even fight with, you're just like fighting with yourself. And I've really been in like the last year putting myself in his shoes a lot during that time in our relationship. And I'm like, man, how frustrating this wall. Because I'm just like,
I'm so glad you're here.
do
Like,
anything.
right? You're just breathing, and he's like, "What's going on with this person?" God forbid he asks you what's wrong. You're like, "Nothing."
And when I did say something, it wasn't nice. It was very snappy. I would go between being like
Yeah.
aggressive and passive aggressive and it was just so strange. I did a lot with my body language for sure. Like I would shut down literally my heart. I would like sink into
Mhm.
myself. I'm like shutting you off energetically. Um
Mhm.
and his mother used to do some of the same things. So there's also that, right? Like that played a part in if I was kind of reopening.
That's why he could call you out. He's like,
No,
"Excuse me,
yeah.
I know what you're doing." You're like, "No, that's not what I'm doing at all. What I'm doing is I'm just
Yeah.
like tired. I'm tired. I'm just like really tired."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, you were tired yesterday and the day
Yeah.
before and the day
So
before
that went
that."
on for a few years for the beginning of our relationship. And I feel like you guys needed that history to understand what then happened because the next part won't take so long. But it's more recent too. Like I've
Mhm.
talked to you guys about the more
Well,
recent
wait.
things, you know? Like
That's how he responded. That's how you responded. So how would he respond to conflict in a nutshell beforehand?
Um, mostly he just wanted to address it right away. For sure, there was always this, he always felt like he was being blamed, so he goes on the defense, and I'm already an offensive player. Like, that's already just who I am.
Mhm.
So it would
Okay.
really charge my anger, I think, when he would get
Mhm.
so defensive. Um,
Right.
and then me also just not knowing how to respond to that, right? Like I had never been with
Of
someone
course.
who had been defensive, who hadn't done anything wrong. The thing is, I've had men be defensive with me when they've done something fucking wrong, right? Like that's when it makes sense. I'm like, why are you so defensive about this though? Like,
A guilty conscience. We're just like always doing shit wrong. We're like, what did I do? I'm so sorry.
so
Oh
yeah, so he would get very defensive, and that would trigger then my offensive personality. But again, I was also in this.
You're like, what? Did you do something that needed
I was also
defending?
in this space where I was like, don't you fucking say anything if you can't say something nice. Man.
You're gonna have to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yes. So for sure we did have a couple of like explosive fights. We've never called each other names. Like we've never gone to a point of no return, obviously. We're still here.
Perfect.
The worst thing I've ever said to Tyler is to get the fuck out of my face.
Yes. Ooh, those were dark times. Wasn't that when my leg was broken?
No, that was before. But
Oh,
you
damn.
were
Who knows?
you were away during that time. I don't know where you were,
Interesting.
but you were away.
It just helps me with timeline, guys. That's why I'm
Yeah.
asking, just in case.
So
Okay, so Tyler's defensive,
yeah.
you're offensive / passive aggressive, depending. And now we're fast forward till today.
So today we still have the same tendencies. This is what's so funny, right? They never really go away because
Yes. This is what humans need to understand.
these things
Pay
never
attention.
really go away. We just get better at handling them and managing them and responding to them. And instead of an argument taking us 5 days, it takes us 5 minutes.
Thank you. Yes. Like what? It's a time saver. We're in America. We love saving time, guys. Pay attention. Save time.
But you just
save your heart.
exactly.
God.
Yeah. But you have to
stop heart attack.
Yeah. So fighting never ends. I think that's one thing if I would want to tell any couple anything. Fighting never ends, right? Conflict is natural. You live with this person, I would say with the amount of traveling that people do, maybe like 90% of the time now, right? But like still, you are in high contact with this person. They're gonna get on your fucking nerves one of these days. Period.
It's gonna happen. It sucks. I know, but if you want to be around human beings, then I'm sorry.
Exactly.
They also have feelings, etc.
So now when we fight, there's this idea, I'm sure you guys have probably seen several types of like reels or content or whatever about it, but this idea about like safe words, right? How do we call somebody on a behavior we're seeing in a way that is safe, that when they hear us say this word or this phrase, they know like, okay, let me pull back a little bit and look at this from both perspectives and see where we've missed each other because there's conflict now. So for Tyler,
which is essentially like you just said something that triggered me. Here's a safe word.
Right. So if it's Tyler that's been triggered, if I say something like, "Hey babe, next time you change the laundry, can you make sure to put 2 dryer sheets instead of 1 dryer sheet?" Well, I didn't know that you did 2 dryer sheets. I'm not blaming you for something. I'm giving you a piece of advice that will help you later. This is my safe phrase. When I say this phrase, he gets to like, okay, okay, I got a little defensive because I immediately was like, but I didn't know. Just chill, it's cool. I know you didn't know, or I know that you forgot, and so that's okay. I'm just reminding you. Now, that's ideally how the conversation goes. It doesn't always go that way, depending on what kind of mood we're in that day, right? So sometimes it takes a little longer. Sometimes I have to say that phrase like 4 times before.
Whoa.
Before I am heard.
I'm not upset. For real.
You're really trying to stay calm because you're like, I can't appear upset when I'm saying I'm not.
really not a big
Oh
deal.
man.
Not a
Whew.
big
This is where
deal. It's
breath
not a big
work
deal.
really helps us out, you guys.
It
You
does,
really
because
gotta breathe.
it's not that you're lying about not being upset about it. It's just that you've gotten to a point in your evolution where you now recognize at the same time that you're upset that you don't want to be upset about this thing
Yeah.
anymore in the present moment,
Yeah, it's
right?
such a
And
waste of
so at the
energy.
same
Yeah.
time, exactly, you're like, this to me has become pointless. Like, we've decided that it's pointless, but now we're in the practical part of the decision that I've made that it's pointless. Like, that doesn't mean that it's not going to bother me, like, still a little bit. It's that in the moments, like, I have to do this rationalization, and you have to do it in real time.
Yes.
And it's like, it's very interesting when you are aware enough to see that you are what you're doing in real time, which is these two things. While I'm trying to have a conversation with you, I'm also talking to myself, and I'm like,
Yes.
listen, you gotta breathe,
Yes.
because remember what we talked about. We're like, right, Tyler, it's really not a big deal. I swear to God. Swear to God.
Yes.
You get to the point where you're going to be like, all you're feeling is me now trying to rationalize.
Yes.
So you're feeling this weird energy, but don't even worry about it.
Yes.
Don't even trip.
Yes.
Don't even trip, dog. It's fine.
So a really good example was earlier today, we had one of
Today?
these fights. So
Oh,
these
shit.
kinds of fights have been
Tell me.
happening a little more often because we've been moving. So we both have been stressed. We,
Yes, high
yes.
tension.
So this is where you guys, this is where you really gotta like, us fighting all the time right now is okay. I'm okay with it because I understand that this is,
It makes
yes,
sense.
and it's just a small period of time. And by the time we pay the next rent and set of utilities, it'll be fine, right? It's just like we're shifting from a place of being really safe in my parents' home to having all these new expenses. And that's stressful for both of us. Even though we've done it before, it still
Mm-hmm.
is stress to the system. And so I'm understanding that. And I'm like, it's cool. We're both going to have a little bit of heightened energy right now. But earlier today, I gave him a piece of advice for something to do next time. And it was not received well. It was not good. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just saying that it would help you next time. And then he got defensive again. I was like, all right. So I walked away for a little bit. And
Gonna be.
and then we were on the way to the car and he was kind of frustrated the front door wouldn't lock. There was something like stuck in the lock, so he was getting frustrated with the door. Um and we got in the car and it was very unresolved, right? And I know
Good.
Tyler, and I know that at some point, if I don't bring it up, he's going to bring it up because it got left unresolved. So
Yup.
I was like, hey,
Yup.
when we were in the house, and I was talking about the keys. I just want you to know, like, I really wasn't picking on you. I'm really just trying to give you a piece of advice for next time that will save us money and time. Okay? I really just need you to hear me on that. And he was like, oh, this is the fourth time you've brought it up. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
yeah.
not listening.
And
Oh
then I
God.
started crying when I said that. Hey.
I was right. I was right, you guys. I really know her. I really do.
And he was like, no, no, babe. And he immediately grabbed my hand. This tells you how far we've come, okay? Because I used to not like to be touched. Okay? When I was mad,
He
I'm like, don't
grabs
fucking
her
touch.
hand.
No, immediately grab my
No,
hand.
that's what I want to do. That's my first thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I need you to feel me, but I'm
Yeah.
being honest.
And he was like, listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm responding like this. I've just been stressed, and we're moving. I was like, I know.
I'm crying because you're being so like nice about it.
Yeah. But this has been an evolution of how we resolve conflict, right? And so immediately, because he's made physical contact, and this is one of the hierarchies of my love languages, it
Yes.
keeps me from shutting down. And so then I can feel what I need to
Yes.
feel in the moment, but I'm also held, literally held by him to feel what I need to feel and be validated. And he's honoring where he is, where his energy is, and just being honest with me. He's apologizing maybe for how he's responding, but he's not over addressing it now, right? Whereas before he's like, why do you keep bringing this up? Why do you keep bringing this up? And he's just like, he's just snapping at me, and I'm like, why are you so mad at me? I just can't help.
Right. And honestly, you're like, because you still have that stanky dank energy
Right.
around you that tells me that there's still an issue.
Exactly.
And so you're still over here telling me every time we talk that it's fine, but now this time has passed and I can smell that it's not fine.
Yeah.
So I'm asking
Yeah.
again.
But I
What's
think like
going on?
really being open to practicing that with your partner. It takes time. It takes time to learn how to
Yes,
fight.
yes,
It takes time to learn
yes.
how to
But
have also these more extended fights without them getting in the way of your day, right? Because like that whole interaction
right,
lasted for like maybe about 30, 40 minutes, right? Because it started in the house. We were already in the car. He was taking me to drop me off at the gym. So like there was time in between all of this. When those fights get long, then it tends to ruin our day. And then the whole day just gets kind of funky. And again, we never resolve
of
it.
course,
But like
of
learning how
course.
to have,
Because you live with each other.
yeah,
How can you?
yeah. But learning how to have these like endurance fights is really important too. Um, and know that like there's nothing wrong with your relationship if you have them. You're
Yes.
gonna
But I
have them.
feel like this type of communication, this type of conflict, Desiree is using the term fight, which is fine.
Yeah.
Everybody understands that word. I like to use the term conflict because I have a lot of negative connotations to the word fight. For me, it's like literally fighting, and I always have to remind my brain that, like, no, like, that doesn't always mean that. And I'm like, so they're in conflict. And I'm like, sure, brain, they're in conflict. Whatever fucking word you want to use. So I like to use the word conflict. But I feel like until the two people, no matter the relationship, until the two people can get to a point where they can hear their side, because each relationship takes two, okay? And I I I don't want to, this doesn't mean that like abusive relationships are like, for people that are going to get intricate because you exist, because I exist and I get real into the details. So, but abusive relationships as well, because I've seen many of those. It also takes the other person. It takes one of those people realizing a certain amount of strength to somehow remove themselves from the situation at all costs. Okay? So even in those situations, it does take two. Okay? So I feel like until any relationship gets to the point where both of you can hear what the other is saying, receive it, despite how it may make you feel initially, and then accept or, analyze and take your own accountability without having to follow it up with a yeah, but. Because for what a lot of people don't know, and this is like speech psychology, okay? So when butts are you have to be careful with butts, okay? Because what a butt does in a relationship, right? A lot of times we hear them with, I love you, but what the but does is completely negate the first statement, okay? A lot of times you use it, it's a passive aggressive way of speaking. Whether we want to see it that way or not, whether we want to accept it that way or not, I'm sorry, guys. That's what semantics does. That's what you guys call it. That's what we call it. Passive aggressive speech. When you say, I love you, but I like you, but I mean, I respect you, but everything has been negated.
Yep.
So until you get to the point where you can actually accept your accountability, even if you don't see it that way, and what you simply do is accept that you, from your perspective, you don't see it that way, and you express that you don't see it that way, because from my perspective, I see this.
Yes.
However, you have to also accept that the other person is not you. And you cannot invalidate their existence and their interaction with you. So even though we don't mean a thing that we say, we don't mean for it to come off one way, oftentimes it does, right? And so until we can figure out why we're speaking that way, why we're talking about those things that way, this type of the communication that Desiree and Tyler have achieved, I don't know what side on the screen you're in, but this side, it is imperative that both of you break that barrier and you kind of come into an acceptance of just like who you are.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to accept who you are and how you have learned to communicate, and you just accept it. And you accept that you're trying to change, but it's a process. And just because you want to change doesn't mean that by tomorrow, the next time a person triggers you, you're not going to react exactly how you did 10 years ago. Come on. Are you kidding me?
Because at this
took
point,
you,
we have
however
decades.
old you are.
We have decades of practice responding this way.
Exactly. It took you however old you are to get here. Okay? How are you kidding me? It's going to take a little bit of time for you. If you really focus a lot and you really decide that this is something you want to do, you can make incredible leaps and bounds in the way that you communicate with people, the way that people see you. In terms of that, I know I'm definitely proof of that.
Yeah, same.
But exactly. But until you get to that point, I feel like you guys can just go around in circles.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, we used to.
I just wanted to point that out. Like, yes, like you both got to a point where you were able to take accountability. And let me tell you that, like, you know, we all have our like petty, our all complaints. Like everything is going to be very similar. Like there's always one person in a relationship that does more domestic things than the other because we were just raised that way, etc., etc. Okay, and it gets annoying sometimes. It's like those petty little things. And even in those things, we have to learn to take accountability. So
yeah,
you guys have done an amazing job.
Thanks.
So. You're welcome. Another round. Another round. So I want to know, we'll move to my favorite question.
Okay.
So we talked about how you guys fight, which was able to kind of explain sort of at least the great shift that has happened, right?
Yeah.
So
without spending like 3 hours trying to tell you guys the story.
Exactly. So obviously within that shift, so I'll explain. So they've been together for 9 years. We met right before their second anniversary. Okay. So what was it like during that gap of time to work on 3 relationships at the same time? The one with yourself, the one with me, and the one with Tyler. So what was it like to work on those 3?
So actually, I was thinking about this earlier. I know you asked me this at one point when we were recording before. And I realized actually, like, I got to kind of stack them, right? Like, I spent that 2 years by myself. So I really leaned into the relationship with myself. Then I met Tyler. And I got to work on building that relationship a little bit. And then I met you. And so I got to establish them in layers. You know what I mean? So that was really helpful. And I think that
Mhm.
really speaks to, I have never met more people that I feel so connected to until I went through that really intense period of self-work. And so I don't think that means that everybody has to go to therapy, like therapy's for you or it's not. However you choose to grow is
Mhm.
what's right for you. But I think that at the end of the day, it's very important for us to have some real alone time with ourselves and figure out what the fuck we want. Um, and so because I had already navigated it a little bit for myself, I knew how to follow that instinct, that intuition, and it's only gotten louder, right? The more I follow it, the louder it gets. Um,
Yeah.
but then I,
Thank you.
yeah, but then I got to practice that with Tyler for a little bit, for about 2 years before I met you. Um,
Mhm.
and then I got to practice it with both of you together. And I think that's where it got like the most interesting, is like, we all know there's like this history long battle between your best friend and your boyfriend, and there's always this like tension and like bleh, and somebody can't stand help. Exactly. You see how we feel
So
about it.
so
so,
annoying.
so we
That was one of the questions Joe asked.
yeah.
It's like, why does it always like that? Why is it like that?
Why? Yes. Um, and it's just because really at the end of the day, the people that we love, if they don't have some kind of established relationship of their own, they're always going to feel in competition with each other, right? Um,
It's a weird
it's
psychological
very,
human
yes,
thing.
again, it comes back to the
You can
psychology.
rationalize out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, you
Yeah, you
can.
don't have to react to
Right.
it. You rationalize out of it, but you still feel it and you're
But
like,
it
ooh,
just happens
gross.
immediately too. Like it's a biological thing that happens pretty quickly. And then the signals get sent to your brain. By the time your
Hate it.
brain gets the fucking signals, man, you're done.
It's my least favorite,
Yeah.
that jealousy.
Oh, so there was some of that from Tyler's side when Camilla first came around, but there was none of that from Camilla's side. And Tyler, as long as you are an honest person, and like by honest I mean authentic and like truly who you are, he's very good at reading that. He has such a sharp intuition for that. Um,
It's that Irish.
yeah, those ancestors, man.
Yeah, those are some
So
people.
he,
I love those people.
yeah, I think initially, he had some experiences in the past where like his girlfriend's best friends were just not even fun to be around. Um, and so
I can
not
only
only was she
imagine.
fun to be around, but he could talk to her without me there.
Mhm.
And that was a big change for him, but it also really benefited me because instead of feeling like I was in the middle of everything all of the time, I knew that I could let
Yeah.
them communicate and figure it out on their own, and they would do it, that they could be two adults together and that I didn't have to be there refereeing shit all the time and like
Thank
always feeling
God.
like, I don't know if he really likes her or if she can really stand being around him. Like
Yes.
I've never.
Yes. And I really tried to make that a point to like, I tried to make it a point to let her know that, he could always talk to me. And there were a couple times that, like, obviously, like, this is a learned practice. So obviously, there were times that he did come to
Mhm.
you to come to me about
Yeah.
things because I also lived with them, you guys,
Yeah.
twice. Yes, I had to live with them
Yeah.
twice. Not had to, like, I saw myself in an in unfortunate situations, and I had the the luck of having two people in my life that were more than willing to welcome me in, which it's not like Desiree went to him and was like, Camilla's moving
No.
in, deal with it. No, this was a
Mhm.
conversation that she had without really me being
Mhm.
involved that she then brought to
Mhm.
me. So it was one of the most like beautiful things that some people have ever done for me, other than like my neighbor family when I first got here. They really took amazing care of me. And I was like,
I was not about to let her be
so
homeless. No way.
for real. So what I'm saying is, you know, we really had to learn to communicate. That was the point of me letting you know. Like, we really had to learn to communicate. So, you know, there were obviously times when he went to her, and we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. I slept on their blow up mattress in
And
their
that
living
was the
room.
first time.
You know what I'm
That was the
saying?
first time.
That was
Not
the
the
first
second time.
Second time I had my own room. Pretty sweet.
This time she'll have her own
Man,
bathroom.
my own bathroom. That's right. Man, it's very interesting. But the point is, you know, obviously living with me, like, not only now he's having to learn to live with Desiree, now he's having to learn to live with me. And I do my best to like stay out of the way. But there's only so much you can do. You have to interact with people. So there were a couple times that he had to go to her and like, you know, what's going on? And she had to go ahead. It's okay.
Go
Just
talk about
to
it.
her about it.
Go talk about it.
Go talk. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
It was all that one pinnacle conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's definitely been rewarding, I would say, to work on all three of those relationships at the same time. And we really have created like a little family unit.
I think so.
Yeah.
I like to think so. It's really nice. I don't have a bunch of other people that I like text like that. Just like random like grocery stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you guys as a couple create fun together?
Ooh, I love this question.
At this point, because it used to be really difficult because your interests were so like opposite. Like, this has been a journey.
Yeah.
This is a fun one.
So like I said,
it seems like a simple question.
I know. So like I said, Tyler and I on paper are very different. We have very different interests. He is, okay, if I had to give Tyler an archetype,
Oh my god.
he is the doomsday prepper. He is.
Oh my god. I was like, let me pull out my little card.
Oh man,
He
yes.
is. Oh my god.
He is
He
Mr.
really is.
Security, Mr. Safety, Mr. Make sure. Listen, you guys, I'm telling you, I've had this vision that when we have a child, he's going to nail down or like screw down the crib.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to take the crib
Like,
if they
what?
come. That's me. I'm like, they're not going to take the
Oh my
crib. They're just going
God.
to take the baby.
But
Tyler.
that's okay because Desiree's a daydreamer. So I'm like, you know what?
It's an energetic nail, you guys. Don't get into the
Exactly.
semantic.
And he's very much here in this physical realm, right? He's very in the 3D. He's really good with the bills. He's really good with making sure that things get fixed around the house, right?
But he also doomsday dreams.
Exactly. So it's out of anxiety a little bit. It's out of anxiety. And then sometimes he forgets to do certain things out of anxiety.
It's the toughest.
And then you have me, who's like the artsy dancer, athlete. Like, I've been a singer since like kindergarten. I've been in choir. So like we're very much on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Look at her shirt.
Yeah. His idea of a fun day is like to go shooting and then go drink some whiskey somewhere and then maybe come home, and order pizza and play some video games. And my idea,
and then watch a movie.
is to like go get dressed up and do like a fun photo shoot and then create some content. And yeah, exactly. Shake my ass a little bit. So, so we're very different on paper. So it's taken us a lot of time actually to cultivate how we spend time together when we both want to have fun. Luckily we're both 90s babies, so we really can relate on like certain types of video games, right? We can play like
Yes.
Nintendo games, for instance, because we both had a Nintendo growing up, like a Nintendo
Yeah.
64. So like,
there's been some bleeds here, you
yeah,
guys. They've worked on it.
yeah,
They've worked
we
on
have
it.
found common
It's not like
ground.
Desiree's
No, no,
like,
no,
I'll not
no.
play
And
your
listen, I go
game.
shooting with him now. Why? Because it's important for
Yes.
Tyler
I
to
love
know that
that.
I can handle a gun if he was not around. And he comes and watches
Yes.
me dance now, or he'll like grab me and dance with me in the kitchen. And like, he's not a dancer. He doesn't want to go
Makes me so
dancing
happy.
outside. Not yet. Not yet. We're gonna get there.
No. I used to get so mad at him for
But
that.
but he would never, like, never before would he ever grab me and like sway with me in the kitchen. And he'll do that with me now.
Yeah, one time I was talking to her on the phone and he could see me. And then he came from and we have been talking for a while. And then he came up behind her and gave her like a kiss like right here. And I was like, did you not just hear? Like, I'm sorry. Like, what? And he's like, hey. And I'm like, oh my God, how you've changed. You've changed. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
man, it's all working out,
yeah,
man.
and obviously, you know, I'm in the embodiment work now, so I'm not going to sit here and say by any means that I am a low maintenance girlfriend. I'm not. I
Nope.
am not low maintenance energetically, right? I'm easy to please
Yeah.
materially, but like what I ask of you and how I ask you to show up in relationship is a lot. And it's not that I don't show up the same, but it is a lot, and not everybody can do it. Um,
But the point is that you show up a
yeah.
lot. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
that's probably part of why I still
he
single.
has learned how to show up a lot, especially for someone who's
Mm-hmm.
not in this work. He loves what I do, he supports what I do. He thinks that I'm like a magician. Like
Yeah,
but it's just
as he
not
should.
it's not ever going to be his thing, right? And it's not to say he doesn't do the work. He does do the work. He joins me in doing the work. He's just not going to go and become a coach himself. Um,
Of course
but
not.
me,
Until we go to Ireland.
right, right. It'll
Just
awaken
wait.
in him one day, I think. But the point of that is to say, I obviously do ask for a lot in relationship, and he is also he can energetically meet me in that. He knows how to show up, and he knows how to like keep trying his little Aries self, man. That little baby ram.
Yeah.
He's gonna keep hitting that wall until he busts through
They're
it.
stubborn ones.
That's when that stubbornness is working for you, boo boo.
Yeah. They're either gonna bust through it or they're just gonna pass out.
Exactly.
Be like, I'm sorry, your horns are not yet developed enough to do this type of bulldozing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Man, the little Aries is the way that I see an Aries is like there's an empty field and there's a brick wall and it's small. It's only like the width of like a door and they decide to ram through it instead of like going around the door.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's how I see it from like a more airy perspective where I'm like, damn, like you could just like that's cool. You know what? However you have to learn your lesson. You know what? I've had to learn to let go of that. It's one of my big life lessons. Just letting go. Like let it go. Like people had let it go. Let it go. When they ask, you can help them receive
Oh
something.
man. It's true. But
I
yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
we've worked a lot on like finding some common ground and some things we can connect on that we can both really relate to. And
Mm-hmm.
then we also, there's a lot of love in doing something for your partner. Like, sure, I don't necessarily love going shooting, but I do it because it's important to Tyler and I want to be around Tyler. And if that's how he wants to spend an hour of his day, and I also know that emotionally it provides him some security that I know how to handle a gun, I'm gonna do that for him.
We gotta help those dreams,
Right.
girl. We gotta help those dreams.
Oh, we'll have a
We
whole
gotta help those
episode about
dreams.
dreams, man.
Oh
We
my
got some
god.
crazy dreams in
I
this
can't
house.
wait.
But anyways.
Oh my god.
Um,
Oh my
yeah, we
god.
found
You guys also create scheduled fun time, right?
yes.
Because for those of you that don't know, because why would you know? Tyler has a crazy schedule right now.
Yeah, he's a
So they have to
correctional,
schedule their
or not a
time.
correctional, yeah, correctional officer in the prison.
He's a
Yeah,
correctional
that's what they
officer,
call
yeah.
him. He works in the prison, so he works 5 days a week. He works 12-hour shifts and then a 16-hour shift on his last day. And then he has 3 days off, so it's a rotating schedule. It's not even the same 5 days that he works. It changes every week.
Jeez.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we've really gotten very stern with our boundaries around our time together. And it's not to it's not to be mean with each other. It's just to say we know that that time together for both of us, quality time is important. And that if we don't have that time together, then things are going to fall apart a little bit in the relationship and communication will get hard. We'll both be feeling a little empty, etc., etc. So, it's really important to, I think, also like prepare for fun, prepare for dates. Um, because it's not always going to be like an easy just like, oh, let's go out for a movie and a date night and like that's cool and that's fun to do too, but sometimes it has to be creative because we have only so much time together. Um and and we're in this transitional space too, like I said, financially, so we're kind of both in a place where we're right now specifically we're like we don't want to spend a ton of money on dates, right? So right now we're being super creative. um which actually tonight I have some boundaries around this recording and we just hit one out.
Oh.
So so I think that's
Boom.
where we get to pause it for now. I'll have this bad boy uploaded in a couple of days. I'll announce it so you guys can be ready for the drop. Make sure you're following both of us on Instagram. I'll have the links in the notes. And then do me a favor and please follow my YouTube channel. I'm going to be transitioning a little bit from Facebook and Instagram to YouTube. So I'm going to have some blogs and different kinds of
YouTube.
stuff up.
YouTube.
Yeah, I'm
YouTube.
super excited to just be a little bit more intimate with you guys. And then for Miss Camila, you want me to share the shirts this week, babe?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
If you like,
She's got
go ahead. Give it a click.
she's got a yellow one. It looks so good on the yellow. It's just so vibrant. It's so, yeah, I love it. I love it. You guys check out her shirt.
There are many colors.
I know.
Pick your favorite.
Yeah. I know. Now that we've moved and everything, I'm like, okay, I need to look at my money and see what I can spend and order some shirts. All right, guys, I'm super excited for you to hear this one. Let us know what you think. Leave us comments, questions, whatever you want. Give us some feedback. We appreciate you. I get to go
Anything.
have a date.
We heard me.
All right, guys.
All right, see you guys soon.
See you
Have
later.
a wonderful evening.
Bye.